Yep.
Well, it looks like we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Probably more gentlemen than ladies. But thanks for joining us today for another exciting episode of Coffee and Ham Radios. Before we get started, I got to say it, Chuck,
Yes.
KK6USY right here, the premier antenna builder on YouTube, was in QST this
Oh,
month, right?
yeah. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
I think you were being
Tell you-
coy. You were all tight-lipped about it or something, so I saw it.
You really.
I don't know if I told you guys about. Did I tell you guys? I don't even know if I told you guys about it.
I didn't tell me.
Apparently, you didn't tell us because we all didn't know about it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
quite the honor.
I got the QST in the mail, and I got up to do my morning business. And while I was doing that, I was flipping through
Oh,
there, and I
Lordy.
said, "Well, let's
Whoa.
see who's in the
Whoa.
ham media playlist this month." And Chuck, what is it? What is going on here?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of nice that they do look at the YouTubers as a
Valuable
a source,
resource.
a valuable resource.
Oh yeah, we do free advertisement for products and stuff.
Yeah. Putting in all this work.
But we're not doing
Well-
free advertisements for them. Well, I did do a video for
we
them,
do,
but-
we do pimp the ARL a little bit, and I'm fine with that. They have a purpose,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like the NRA. People either love the hell out of them or they hate them.
Well, if it's the only thing, it's not like there's four different choices of
Right.
ham radio lobbying
Right?
organizations.
There isn't
Like,
Ham Radio
this
of
is
the
it.
Americas, and the
Very-
Second
very
Ham Amendment
polarizing.
Foundation. Right?
Well, the other thing is that when people get upset about stuff, they do have the ability to join and then run for office. Right? They can put a platform together and they can assemble like-minded hams and get voted in as well. So, I mean, if you want to see change, sometimes you have to be the change, and that's
Yeah.
Look at
And-
you.
My understanding is there's
you
not a
sound
lot
like
of
a politician.
competition. If you run for office out there, you probably won't get it because the other guy that's doing it's like, please get me out of here
Right.
because it's work.
Oh,
Right. I don't want
probably
to
so.
do it.
Yeah. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Back in.
I'm
so
pulling up the electronic version of that magazine so we can share that out.
just
And
just
and
for
show
a
Chuck in there.
update, I am going starting today, maybe tomorrow. Start my Kronos build, so we should be close. I'm pretty sure I went through the part. I bought a parts box just for the Kronos because there's a lot of parts, and I pulled almost everything out of that box, and I had everything here. So I think we're pretty close to a go on it. So I will do my best, and that'll be the next video I do, guys.
Well,
You heard it
apparently
here
the-
first.
The electronic version is not up yet. Oh, there it is. Now we got it.
There it is.
I thought
Good.
they
I
were
haven't seen it actually.
Thought they were distant, Chuck.
It usually comes out early on the electronic version before the paper.
That's what I thought. But
And yep, I do pay extra so I can get the paper copies. That's just the kind of person I am.
It's full OM.
yeah, I wish I had a.
Embrace that OM.
Some,
There he is.
oh,
How
wow.
come they don't show Chuck's face?
Well, they don't want people to quit the ARRL.
I don't know.
Most likely. Look at
That's-
Chuck
that,
demonstrating his chameleon antenna here.
I
Oh,
don't
look
even
at
know where
you.
they got I didn't give them the pictures. That is Chameleon
What?
sells
That's
that little
yes.
clamp.
I hear deflection already.
They
Well,
sell
I mean,
that clamp
as a pro at
for like
deflection. You should hear it right away.
they sell that clamp for $100, and I built it for just parts I had laying around. So it was a project.
Oh, the blue clamp. That's what you built, right?
Yeah. They did get my newest antenna out there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, look at that.
The cubicle quad.
Well, congratulations, Chuck. You can retire
Well,
now.
thank you.
Now you made it.
You famous,
Thanks.
old man.
I'm famous. I can retire now. Thanks. I appreciate
Right.
it.
Alrighty. So today I think we're talking a little bit about chokes and balance. And let me just do this. The thing is that when we talk about balance, we're only going to be talking about one-to-one balance. We're going to talk a little bit about the differences between a voltage balance and a current balance. And there's a lot of drama in this conversation with hams because they always take things so freaking literally, and they want to argue. Both chokes and balance, one-to-one balance, have a single purpose, and that is to eliminate common mode current and then balance the currents that are going on your transmission wire. So I don't like to play a lot of semantic games with what the thing is actually called. So sometimes I call them choke, sometimes I call them balance, and sometimes I even call them choke balance. And that's how they're referred to by the league as choke balance. And people will be like, well, the league is wrong. And okay, if that's the stance that you're going to take, then I just don't want to entertain the lexicon conversation. But so really, it's a device that transitions between a balanced antenna, such as a dipole, and an unbalanced feed line, like a coaxial cable. That's where the term balun comes from, balanced and unbalanced. While both current and voltage balance aim to reduce unwanted feedline radiation and improve signal transfer, they do it in different ways with different assumptions, and we'll talk about those. Understanding the difference will help you choose the right balun for your antenna setup. In the older days, current baluns were not used as much as they are today. People tend to use voltage baluns, and I don't know what the reasoning was there, but in more modern times, or I should say contemporary times, folks have switched over to using current baluns more than the voltage baluns. So the primary reason that we use these things is because we don't want to have common mode current. And there's some people out there that claim common mode current doesn't exist, but it does. I think most of us could probably tell a story where we've actually observed common mode current, put a choke on, and then the problem had gone away. But it's a type of current that flows on transmission lines. It's called common mode because it's common, means that it shares the same conductor as part of your differential current transmission line. And it's one of the problems that it does is it can cause electromagnetic interference. So actually, let me just go over to, I want to get to the last line, then we'll go to the next slide. Common mode current is searching for a path to ground, and it can come into your shack and cause havoc. We're going to jump all around. So this is a slide from the American Radio Relay League that shows what really is happening. And the depiction here uses a dipole, but it can be the case with any antenna. All antennas are either dipoles or loops. And I'm sure somebody's going to want to argue about that, but it's either a dipole with a missing arm, a dipole without a missing arm, a dipole with a shortened arm, or a loop antenna. That's all antennas. So when we transmit AC current, it's differential. So it's equal and opposing. So as current's going out, current is coming back in, and it switches back and forth. And that's the magic that makes the radiation happen. I don't know if you're not going to be able to see my mouse, but you can see that there's a current on the shield that's going out. It says L2. And then you can see where it does this U-turn, and it comes back down and says L3. The reason it is doing that U-turn is that it's looking for its lowest source of impedance to get to ground. And so if the outside of that shield, it's called skin effect, if the outside of that shield has a lower impedance than part of your antenna, current is going to do a U-turn and go back down. Now, on a perfectly symmetrical antenna, the chances that happen are much less than if you're using something like an off-center fed dipole or an end-fed half wave, right? Because the antenna is not symmetric and you have high impedance. And it's looking for that path to ground. When it comes down your coaxial cable, what happens is your coaxial cable becomes energized and actually can create radiation that your antenna picks up and you hear interference. Or it can also act as an antenna and actually pick up signals in bands that you don't want. Or you could pick up stuff from power lines or from a transformer box or something along those lines. So hams, we like to put something in place to isolate the antenna from the transmission line and get rid of this common mode current. And that's a choke or a balun, depending upon what word you want to use. This is just a quick picture of a piece of coaxial cable. And what folks say is that coaxial cable actually has three conductors. It has your center conductor, and you can see that copper piece in there. And then it has the shield or the braid on that outside. RF travels on the outside of a conductor. It doesn't usually get down into the center point of that conductor. So with the braid, current can go on the inside of that braid, and it can go on the outside of that braid. We typically see that common mode current running on the outside of that braid, which creates that unbalanced current that we don't want to have around. Does that make sense? Just was talking real fast.
No, Tom had a great comment, and I think that's the root of the whole thing.
100%. Yeah. So he says when everything's working right, it's equal and opposing. Therein lies the problem. And the thing is that most of the time it's not working right. So that's where we have these challenges. So let me go over to here. And the difference between voltage and current balance, and that's kind of the big gist of the conversation today, I think. So a voltage balun attempts to provide equal but opposing voltages at its two input terminals. So essentially it's designed to maintain a symmetrical voltage on each side of the balanced load. And then we have current balun. So current balun's main goal is to reinforce equal and opposite currents on the output terminals instead of focusing directly on ensuring equal voltages. It forces the same amount of current to flow on either side or each leg of the antenna regardless of minor imbalances in the load. Now, what I always find confusing is that when you talk about, what is it? I can't remember the name of the formula. We do the, Tia, what is the name of that Ohm's law, right?
Ohm's law.
Ohm's law.
So when we talk about Ohm's law, all of the stuff is interconnected: current, resistance, and voltage or power. So to me, they kind of do the same thing. If one changes the voltage, it changes the current, right? Or in the other one, if it changes the current, then it changes the voltage. It just seems like it makes sense that way, but what do I know?
That law.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about construction differences between voltage and current balance. So the voltage balun is a transformer style winding. It can be like an isolation transformer or an auto transformer like you see in a 9-to-1 or a 49-to-1. The design usually relies on a center tap transformer to feed balance loads like we do. Like a good example of a voltage balun is our Poseidon antenna. Current balun construction, it typically commonly uses a choke type configuration, generally around a ferrite core, but not always. We'll look at some ones that are not. To ensure that the same current flows on both legs of the antenna, one of the popular design is the Guanella balun, which uses a transmission line transformer of ferrite cores. So what the current balun does is that it actually builds like an electromagnetic field that creates impedance that stops that common mode current. What the voltage balun does is uses a transformer to take all of the voltage that's going through there and split it. So that's a little bit of the difference there. And here is a diagram I got somewhere along the way. I don't remember, but whoever created it, thank you. And then you can see like this voltage balun has these inductors that are in parallel with the transmission cable. And it creates that isolation gap. Now, auto transformer would have a conductor that goes through and connects that. And then you can see it's in series over here with the current balun. These are just a couple of pictures of different types of chokes or baluns that I've used or built over time. And what's really crazy is a lot of folks would say that these things are not baluns, that they're ununs because they have unbalanced connectors on either side of them, and that's where some of the drama comes in. But that's not an unun, right? What it is a balun, and the goal of the device that you're looking at there is to balance the current that is going on your transmission line, and that's why one side the current is balanced, the other side is unbalanced, and that's why it's called a balun. It has nothing to do with the connector type. I never understand why people wouldn't make that particular argument. But so the top three are wound around different types of ferrite toroidal cores. Two are using coaxial cable, and then one of those is using two windings. Each winding is a bifilar winding of stranded copper core wire. And you can get different impedance ratios at different frequencies depending upon the core composition, and then the winding technique and that you're using, and then the conductor that you're using for the actual winding. On the bottom is more what I would call like a classical choke, which is really just ferrite beads around a piece of coaxial cable with some heat shrink on the outside of it.
You're probably going to mention this later on in the slide deck, but the wrap around the core method, the donut cores, if you go around every pass through the center of a core, is considered a winding. On the bar choke that you've got at the bottom, every core is one winding. And so it depends on how you're storing these things, how you're packing them up, how you're putting them away. But the bar choke might be very inefficient in terms of cost per core, since, to get 5 turns, you need 5 cores, or space in your go box.
Yeah, and so that's a good point. So depending upon how much space you have, how you want to pack your things up, in terms of portability. Like the one that is all the way on the upper right hand corner, how it's got that those two things come out at a 90-degree angle. I actually like that because that's the one that's hooked up to my tuner. All right, so I can just have it connected to one direction and the cable comes in. The one that's all the way over on the top left is the one that I use on my antenna feed points most of the time. And then, like Tio mentions, the one at the bottom is one I would take, like if I was going somewhere and I just wanted to be able to easily stick something in a bag.
Now, are those RG8X, Ape?
The top two are RG8X. I'm not sure what the coax is on the one on the bottom. But a lot of folks
it looks a little thinner. At least from
the one on the
angle.
bottom does, yeah. I have no idea what that is, but I can tell you the one on the bottom does not have the same choking impedance that the two on the top do. The two on the top,
there's just not enough turns. That's the problem. Is like, you get 10 turns through the donut core at the top. You need 10 beads at the bottom to equal that out, roughly.
Probably
more.
Well, it also depends on the thickness of those beads. Like that could be 6 beads in there, could be 8. Like I just don't know how many. Like I don't even know how many beads are even in that thing.
Ape, I have some questions queued up.
Fire away, man.
All right. So Bland asks, or B-Land, I don't know. What about energy efficiency considerations with different Baluns and ununs? We're not talking about nuns. That joke is not appropriate for this show.
Well, so a lot
Get
of
out
people
of the
do.
locker room, boys.
Yeah.
A lot of people get concerned about this. So when you hook and later on I'll show some pictures of how we test them. But when you use a choke or a Balun, like a 1-to-1 Balun, and you hook it up in line, it should be invisible, meaning it should maintain 50 ohm impedance, and you shouldn't get any SWR over it. Now, like our friend Tom was saying earlier, in perfect worlds, that's the expectation. The realistic thing is that RG58, it might be different than the LMR 200 that you're using for your transmission line run to your antenna. Those two pieces of coax probably have a different characteristic impedance, and you're probably going to see some SWR there, even if it's minuscule, right? So there's a little bit of a tax there. The other thing is that you don't sometimes see attacks in your coaxial connectors where there's a little bit of loss that takes place there. But they're highly efficient, like high 99 percentile in terms of power going through. Yeah. If I was really concerned about efficiency, I'd probably look at things other than my Balun. And the problem that you get with common mode current, and we talked about it, how it can radiate from your transmission line. It adds to your noise floor. Now, signals that are coming in off the street and you're hearing them on your antenna, you're not really able to manipulate them. But if you lower your noise floor, you get a better signal to noise ratio. This is on the receiving side, and that's absolutely 100% what you're after. More than efficiency, the couple of percentage points of efficiency that you might lose through the Baluns. So what I'm saying is that it's negligible, and I really
worry more about the antenna than the Balun or the choke.
Yeah, and then somebody was saying, there's a question somebody was saying, there it is, for David Temecula.
I got him queued up, buddy. I got you.
When he transmits on 6 meters, it believes on his computer, do he need a choke or a Balun? Here's what I would do. I would use something that is on that screen right there in front of you. And I would also think about taking a toroidal core and wrapping it around the USB-C cable that you have.
I was going to bring that up.
But also for 6, you might need a different toroid, right? Because
you might need a different mix for sure.
Yes, because I put one on mine and nothing was working one time, and it wasn't for 6 meters, and I changed it, and then everything was fine again. I run one that does 10 through 6. I think
I wasn't
here at the house.
done with that last one yet.
Oh, my bad, dog.
Well, no, I took it off because I'm hiding behind it. It's hard to talk when you can't be seen.
Move you up here.
Oh, cool. I'll do
well,
that.
now I'm
next time.
hiding behind it. Put you there.
There you go, Pumpkin.
There
Calm
you go.
down.
All right.
Jesus,
All right. So Dave, I've got a video on my channel where I'm using the ICOM 705 and I'm using a buddy pole, and it's not a buddy pole problem. It's actually a 705 problem. The 705 being wrapped in a plastic case. It's got known RFI issues. And so I've got a choke at the feed point where the buddy pole dipole transitions from dipole to coax. There's a choke there. And then I have a choke at the other end of that where it transitions from coax to radio. And then I have a choke on the USB cable on the other side of the radio between the radio and the computer. So I'm choking at 3 different places in this scenario where there's only 3 different places that you can choke. So 100% of the places that you could choke because I'm running off a battery. And I'm still occasionally, very rarely at this point, but occasionally getting RFI problems. So it really also depends on your radio setup, and it depends on where you are physically in relation to your antennas, if you're in what's called the near field or if you're out of the near field, and what mode you're running and all kinds of stuff. And the 705 is really bad with that. So, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did
'cause-
a whole video on that. I remember that video.
If you grounded your 705, you probably wouldn't have the problem, right? And the fact that you're using floating power as opposed to shore power is probably part of your problem there, right?
Because
you
there's
don't
no
have
ground there. Yep.
Yep.
So if you look at the last sentence on this, common mode current is searching for a path to ground. This can come in your shack and cause havoc. That's exactly what's happening. So your common mode current's coming from your antenna, like Tio's saying. You should be choked at the antenna to stop it there. You should be choked at your radio feed point to stop it there. And then anything coming off of your radio, like your USB cable, should be choked. Because that common mode current is coming from, is doing that U-turn at the antenna, coming all the way down your transmission line, going through your radio, not finding that path to ground. And now it's going out that USB cable and into your computer. It's the exact problem that I've had. And I've known dozens of people who've contacted me with that problem. And most of the time, like Tio says, it's with a 705.
Ape David has a very good question, and I know you like to preach about this. So preach, brother Ape.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't put a slide in for this one, but yeah, the antenna feed point is where your coaxial cable connects to your antenna, right? And that's your outside antenna, and I would use those at the house. I do use those at the house. I have a choke right there, and then I have a choke where my coaxial cable comes in and connects to my tuner.
So choke twice. Marvin wants to know what is the difference between the two coax wound ones, I guess is what he's saying there.
These right here, they're the same thing, just different length.
Just
The
different
one's
angle.
like a 2-foot piece of coax, and the other one's a 3-foot piece of coax.
No, so there actually is a major difference, and I'm picking
Uh-oh.
nits on purpose here. The major difference is
No
that the one on
crossover.
the left has the crossover, and the one on the
Right.
right doesn't. And the reason the crossover doesn't change anything at all except for your own personal feelings, and those are important. You guys are all like, I want to validate you real quick. Your feelings matter. But what happens with the crossover, you can see how the coax goes in on the bottom and then comes out on the top. And on the one where you don't do the crossover, the coax comes out on the exact same side of the balun. So if you want your feed point and your exit point at the same side, don't do a crossover. If you want them opposed, do a crossover. That's it.
And the reason the one
there's
doesn't have a crossover is because the cable wasn't long enough. I would have 100% done a crossover on that one.
And there's one other thing wrong with that one. You have to use
Lord.
an adapter. You have to use
Yeah.
an adapter with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
It's not
So
like
that was like
it's not
one of
like
the-
what we're selling like this. It has.
All right,
That's right.
hold on, Chuck. Let me.
So
Can you
they
get
are
your
in the
face out of
store,
the picture,
gentlemen.
Chuck?
No, they are in the store. So you have it's a inline, so it has both. It has
What's on that?
both male and
string?
female. And this is the born on date. Let's see
Birth
which way is it.
certificate.
It shows the where it covers, and then
Testing.
when it was built, and who built it. So
Little inspected by.
they are in the
Inspector
store.
Ziggy.
We're almost out already.
I think there's about
So-
6 in the store. So Chip Chop, if you guys want to, let me. Oh my God, let me fix that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, they went. I was shocked, to be honest.
Well,
with
we sold about 10 or 15 of them at Orlando.
10 of them
10.
landed
They were
right away.
they were
10.
flying off the table. One more question queued up, Mike Campbell, and then we need to break to a commercial. What does the number of wines make a difference?
100%. It does. And so with the, and I've built dozens of these things and done all kinds of testing. And the best general purpose one that I found is the 11 turns on an FT31, a 240-31 ferrite tow rotor core, is the best general purpose all around. Now, if when people talk about efficiency and, hey, I'm a contester and I only operate on this frequency, you can
QRP.
build better. Yeah, you can build better chokes that are specialized for that particular condition. But most of the hams that I know are like, hey, I'm 40/6 or I'm 80/6, and I used all kinds of different antennas, and I want the closest thing to a one size fits all choke. There isn't a one size fit all, but it's just like anything else, right? You can use something that's made for a variety of circumstances that works great, but is not perfect for one particular scenario.
Yeah, and so like I got a demonstration of this on my channel as well, and it's a really hard video to find because some of this stuff it's like how do you even title this so you can search for it? So Abe's
Right.
talking about RF. I've got one where I've got a noisy Raspberry Pi power supply, and I'm using those snap-on beads, and it's like 1 is not enough, 2 is not enough, 3 is not enough, 4 is not enough. You just keep adding until the noise goes away, and you can turn your radio on, see the noise, and start doing these kinds of things. So these things are configurable. So the one that we have is a general purpose RF choke, but maybe RF isn't your problem. So there's choking solutions for all of this stuff.
Yeah, the one that Chuck was showing should go at your antenna feed point. And if you're fortunate enough to have two, then the other one would go at your radio input or your tuner input if you're using an external tuner. Now, I actually use a choke in between my tuner and my radio, but that's because I'm obsessive about choking stuff.
No.
I have my
I don't believe it.
I have a
I don't
choke on
believe
my. I have a choke. I have a video on it. I have a choke on my power cable, so it goes from my power supply into my radio. I've got a choke there. Everything is choked.
Now, Don is either trolling us or just probably it, but he wanted to know if these chokes are QRO ready, and he was very specific in meaning that QRO was 1,500 watts, not 100 watts.
Yeah, I would think that the issue with the thing with common mode current is it's generally really low. It's not the same as battling something like SWR power going through there. I think you're fine. I think you're fine at 1,500, but we're going to officially say they're rated up to 500. But if I was giving it the pedal to the metal, I'd use one without worrying about it.
And Don has been known to run a little extra power through some of his antennas, so, because he
Yeah,
can.
Don, I wasn't impugning that you run 1,500 watts. I wasn't sure if that was legit or you were just tweaking me this morning because it's early yet.
Yeah,
But
don't you dare.
You should
Say
back
he
off,
doesn't
old
do.
man. We believe you run 1,500 all the time, Donald. So we need to take a commercial break because somebody got to pay the bills for Chuck's beauty treatments, and as you can see, we're behind on payments. So
He kind of sagging over there.
we have new things in the store. We still have mugs available. What are those, 20-ounce coffee mugs? They're available in green. T.O. has one ready for shipping
So
right now
apparently
to a
we have
customer.
boxes.
Yeah.
We have boxes.
I don't want to unbox
so
the
there-
mug.
There are a few mugs left. We have chokes now are available in the store. We're down to about 6 of them because we've already sold 4 or 5 that came home from
Get 'em now.
Orlando. So if
I
you
just
want
received
these,
them.
they are available on coffeeandhamradios.com, and the link is in the dingus right below the screen called the Chiron. We also have antennas. Every one of our kits is available on coffeeandhamradios.com. That is the Poseidon vertical antenna, the Aries random wire end-fed, the Mercury link dipole, and the Apollo end-fed half wave.
I thought we were out of one of them.
No, Chuck found one laying in the back. There was one in the back.
Overstock.
Well,
Yeah.
To be honest, you guys just randomly put some in the store.
No,
one
to
time,
be honest,
so
you
I-
and
so
I
I
had
had
to
to
go
make-
back to
Here we go.
kindergarten.
Yeah, right.
You guys
my
went to
God.
the-
Behave.
You and T.O. did that, and
Okay.
I had to make kits because you guys like.
Okay, great. Chuck's got kits, and there's antennas available at his store
Get to
right
work.
now.
Get to work.
You guys need like an abacus or something where you slide the bead. You know what I mean?
You
It's something
guys don't. I just get a number from Chuck. That's all I do.
Dude, I asked you how many
actually-
mugs you sold at Hamcation, and you're like, I don't. It was technically
Because I
Chuck
wasn't
answered.
sitting at
Well,
the computer
guess-
looking at it.
You
And I
want to be
didn't
honest,
jump
Abe,
up to
about
answer
that?
your question.
Abe,
Shut
you
up.
want to
Let
be
me- can
honest?
I-
Steven.
How many he
Thank you.
sold?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Stephen, thank you. I would like to also point out that we have coffee available at
This is good stuff.
hamradios.coffee.
Mine's
We have
brewing right
mention
QRO
that.
coffee, which is a dark roast, a bold roast, a robust roast. We have Private Reserve, which is your medium roast coffee, which is the one I like. And then
it
we have
tastes good.
Morning Net. And I, have
drank the
good
morning
taste.
net.
This is the one Chuck stole from me at Quartz Fest.
That
I had to
son
have
of a
bring the
gun.
bag
Oh, you
back.
gave it to me. I had to give him the bag though.
I
Chuck
gave you a
misremembers a lot of things.
No, I don't.
Anyway,
All right.
all of this stuff is available at coffeeandhamradios.com for the gear, and the coffee is at hamradios.coffee. Or you can get there through the website either way.
All
And
right.
let me stress one other thing. The reason there are the cups left because somebody didn't even bother to put them out, and I sold 2 right away after I put them on the table because somebody was busy.
Chuck
It was
was
all
sizzling
about
those
Chuck.
cups.
I didn't bring those. I brought antennas. They were on the table first thing. But I'm just saying.
Listen,
We could
Chuck
probably
conducts
sell
himself
more.
like somebody who's in this month's QST. So I mean, he shouldn't be.
That's right. Until you've been there, well, never mind.
All right.
Whatever.
So this is a another type of choke that I made, and this is with the clip ones, and I called this one my
That's
RFI
ugly.
Busta.
That's ugly.
Well,
oh, sorry.
it's
Am I
awesome.
talking about your baby?
But the thing is that with this one, it's you also get
It's
a
a
little bit
double.
of because the coax is wound around. You get a little bit of that. What do they call it? Ugly Balun effect on that.
It looks like a double ugly Balun.
Yeah. Well, I just had those clip ones. I didn't have toroids when I put this one together. I don't use it anymore because it's bulky, and I'm not really a fan of ugly Baluns or coax Baluns. Yes, you can make Baluns out of winding coax around a former around 6 inches. Use a 2-liter bottle or an oatmeal can or coffee can or something along those lines. But they have a very specific cue. They're very narrow banded. And so when I talked earlier about you can tune things to particular frequencies and maybe get a little bit of performance, you might get better choking impedance on something like that at a small range of frequencies. But given I like a broad banded choke, I don't use this one anymore.
I have actually done those for my 6-meter Yagi because it is a single band. I have done the ugly Balun for that.
Wes
And
needs decaf.
it has a specific
No, Wes.
size that you wind it when you do that.
Yeah, and I think I saw a question about stubs. Like people use stub Baluns, and again, they're tuned to a very particular frequency and not really broad banded. And you'll see those stubs on 6-meter Yagis, for example, is a pretty common.
Explain the stub to me we're talking about. Make sure we're on the same page.
It's basically
act like I don't know.
basically it's a pre-measured piece of coax that you fashion kind of like a T in line with your coaxial cable. And what it does is it creates a little teeny tank circuit, the same way that coil creates a tank circuit on the Shorty 40 antenna that I made. So if you took a look at RF going through that, you'd see basically a big notch filter at that particular frequency where it would block out
And those- are
any
those
common
75
mode at
ohm?
that frequency. What's that?
Usually 75 ohm, right?
You could use 75 ohms. I don't mess with them because I think they're a pain in the ass. So I haven't made any with 50 or 75.
If you look at M² antennas, they use them a lot.
Got you.
Thank you, Keg Mitch.
Keg Mitch.
I hope they said it right. This is one that I made just recently, and it's for the doublet antenna project. And it has a coaxial connector here, and then it has balanced here. So a lot of people would argue this is really a Balun and not an un because it's unbalanced and then balanced. But I just put 2 wing nuts on there so I can easily connect the twin line to that. And this is a mix 31 core with the 2 separate windings of bifilar windings. So actually what's really unique about this particular Balun or choke is that it presents 100 ohm impedance because of the 2 sets of windings. But because you split your signal across each side, it sees it as like 2 resistors in parallel. So it presents as 50 ohms. And then this is from a project that I did a long time ago. And, it looks terrible. It's a terrible build. It's one of my first antennas that I put together. And it's got speaker wire around that. But that's just a Balun that I used on a dipole former that I printed that off of Thingsverse. And whipped that up and thought I was hot shit at the time when I did it. Now we're going to talk a little bit about voltage balance. So this is a 1-to-1 voltage Balun, and this was on a kit from QRP guys, and we like the QRP guys quite a bit. We used to do a lot of their kit builds until we started doing our own kit builds. But this is a 1-to-1 Balun, and it's a voltage Balun, so it splits the voltage. It doesn't do that current impedance thing that we were talking about earlier. And when I built this, I actually had a lot of people come on in the comment section and give me a hard time about using a voltage Balun. They're like, you shouldn't use that. That's the wrong one. Bah, 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 bah. And I'm like, bro, I just built what was on the kit. But I want to talk a little bit more about voltage balance, and these are the kind of things that you still see a lot. They were really popular back in the older days, and
Easy to hang.
well, they are easy to hang, but I don't like them. I don't like them at all. And like this one, it says it's good from 3 to 30 megahertz, right? So that's 80 through 10. I doubt it. I really doubt it. Now the thing is that sometimes people will do these in a method. It's called an air wound coil. So there's nothing in the middle of it, or there might be a piece of PVC. Like people make them on PVC. Some people will make them on an iron or a ferrite bar, and that's called a solenoid. And the first reason I don't like them is because I like toroidal cores because they're round. When you induce magnetic current on a straight piece of conductor like this right here, you do get losses out the end. So you get flux losses out the end of your magnetic field, and your magnetic field's not working for you all the way around the core.
You got dangling flux, son.
Your flux is dangling, and because of that, you pay an efficiency tax there. The other thing is that the less magnetic, the less permeability that you have on that piece of metal that's in there,
Right, Paul.
the bigger and more windings you need. And these windings do create stray capacitance between the windings. So this acts as an inductor and a capacitor. And then that can cause you some problems at particular frequencies as well. So most of the time when you see something like this MFJ 918, I have not seen the inside, so I don't know for certain. I'm going to bet it has the solenoid type voltage balun in here and not a current balun that is wrapped around the toroidal core.
I've seen people use bolts too.
Yeah, so when we were doing the January antenna challenge, I was actually doing a 4-to-1 on a bolt was what I was working on.
Hey, we got a couple of questions that are kind of related to each other, and we may have covered this a little bit. So Mike Campbell is asking about the number of winds. I think we hit that.
It does make a difference.
Mike McDonald asked another question that's related to this. How does he find out how many winds? Do we have to find a Smoke and 8 video that mansplains it to us, or is there
I've got
book?
I literally have a playlist called Baluns and Ununs. And
I thought you did. Yep.
There's like 40 some videos on there that covers 1-to-1s, 9-to-1s, 4-to-1s, and all of those. But typically what you would do, Mike, is you would look at a particular type of antenna. And then based off of that type of antenna, there's known knowledge around, well, an end-fed half wave uses around 49-to-1. Sometimes it uses 56, sometimes it uses 64. But I would look at known antenna designs and then kind of reverse engineer back the other direction. But like I said, I've got tons of videos on all of those different types of chokes and ununs and baluns and how to build them, how to test them, what antennas use them for. But the ARRL antenna book is a fantastic place to start, although it can be a little technical in places.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
And I
And-
learn.
Tom's got a great comment here, and this is part of our Apollo build kit. Is a capacitor
Yeah, but I think he's talking about in the power supply.
in the power supply. Okay.
Or across your
That's
terminals.
to keep. I think that's to keep them quiet, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Yep.
For a switching mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hollywood weighing
Yes.
in with Kirchhoff's
And he-
law to complete the return path, so only one
Starting to
terminal is
sweat
hot.
just reading that.
I know.
Yeah.
Voltage balance have their own internal return path, so both output terminals are hot.
Well, there you go. I would defer to Hollywood on that one.
I pulled up one of those coax balances you're talking about earlier.
Yeah, and he's saying the current balance remove common mode impedance. Voltage remove common mode by phase between the terminals. Yeah, the chokes build that magnetic field that causes that impedance to stop the unbalanced current, and it's the preferred way these days. We're starting to run out of slides here. So we have what do hams use? And they have the modern amateur radio practice. Current baluns have largely become the go-to choice for most folks because they're simple and easy to build. They're just considered the standard, and that's what you will see. There's still a lot of antennas though that do put these voltage baluns out on the market. I'm not saying stay away from one, and I'm not saying throw your antenna out if this is what you're using. It's just probably not what I would choose to go with.
Yeah.
Aloysius has dropped a $10 super chat. Which
Hey,
choke
thanks, Aloysius.
at the feed point on an off-center fed dipole will hold up the best in southeast Louisiana heat? Yes.
So 4-1 for that.
No. Well, you would have so with
He's
an
talking
all
about
center
the choke though.
yeah with all center fed dipole, people use what they call a hybrid balun these days. It seems to be the popular thing, which is a 4-to-1 Ruthoff un like we use on the Poseidon, for example, with a different core. I think they use 61 or 52 mixes, depending upon the frequencies you want to operate on. And then right behind that, they use a Guanella choke balun, like this top one in the upper left-hand corner right there is what I would use. Keep in mind, a hybrid balun is heavy, and you're going to need some pretty good structure to keep that thing up in the air.
What is a Guanella balun?
So Guanella is just a guy who came up with different balun designs, and they call it Guanella balun because that's the guy's last name. But the top one right here with that crossover is a Guanella balun.
The one on the top right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the one we have on the Poseidon is a Ruthoff, but we technically use an un because of when Hollywood was talking about that grounding situation, we ground it in the way of an un, not a balun. Would that make current balun safer for electronics as well? Common mode current can smoke your electronics. Now, you could smoke your electronics a variety of ways, but when you have that RF coming in your computer, like off of your 705, like Tio was talking about earlier, that choke is definitely going to protect your computer. The reason that your computer freezes and locks up is because you have stray current running through your computer looking for that path to ground, and it can fry a component.
Are you out of slides?
I'm out of slides.
OMG.
Wow. I've got one there if you want to show it. This is the one of the ones you were talking about. This is basically RG6, which is 75 ohm on a, oops, let me go over here. And then that's how they string it. This is the balun for that. It's a 2 meter, 7 element Yagi from M Squared. And they do this a lot with theirs. And then you have your tuning parts right here for tuning it. Just thought I'd share that if you wanted it.
Well, that is their stub balun right there. That piece of RG6 is coming up and doing that U-turn, right?
Yeah, right here.
The hairpin match.
Right there. Well, the hairpin is the matching. And then you have, what's really cool, I have this antenna, and you basically, you build it to their specs, and it's perfect. No ifs, ands, or buts on it, so...
Jason was asking, he asked his question because of the statement is that voltage baluns remove common mode through the differential at the terminals, thinking of what that difference may need to pass through before equalization, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure I understand.
Context, Jason, because it's scrolled by or Ape said it. And,
Over my head. I need more coffee.
yeah. Hit Ape up in the Discord, the Smoking Ape.
I think Jason was asking questions about that also on the
I don't remember
Twitter
what he
or
was
X.
asking.
I think he might be the one we were having a conversation on Twitter.
It was. I read that this morning while I was at the Waffle House waiting on my order.
What'd you get?
I got the cheesesteak bowl with 2 eggs over and onions.
Man, I heard the Waffle House is charging a premium tax on each egg now.
Son, it was $35 for 2 breakfasts at the Waffle House.
Yeah, just leave the eggs off.
But where can I get to Greece? I'll probably live without the eggs next time, because when she said 35, that was with a tip, $35. But I'm like,
the price go down on eggs?
Damn. Mrs. Perry said they're $7 a dozen here.
Well, the funny thing is that the organic eggs are now cheaper.
They're probably $15 in
the
California.
I think
unvaxxed chickens are safe.
Unvaxxed chickens, yeah.
Here's what I don't understand. They're saying that the egg prices are going up because we're having to cull the chicken flocks because of the bird flu.
Yep.
That makes sense. Why aren't chicken wings going up in price?
Well, when they cull them, that's where you get chicken wings from.
That's that's all them dead chickens. They got
You
free
can't.
wings.
They won't. You if you call the birds, you can't.
You can't tell a ham a joke, can you?
No.
But the thing is that what they're saying is they use the word depopulate instead
Yeah,
of calling the
'cause
herd. Now they
it's
try to
nicer.
make it sound.
Decimate
Safe.
is even worse.
They're defunding those chickens, is what
They're
they're
like we
that's right.
depopulated the chicken farm.
Yeah, hens are nasty for eating. They're
Anton,
they're tough
how you
and
doing,
leathery.
buddy?
and Crazy.
Long time no
Make
see,
stew
Anton.
birds. Chicken jerky.
Chicken jerky. My eggs are actually
I think
free.
I think it's a conspiracy by Big Vegan anyway.
Well, they're going to have you eating bugs if Big Vegan gets their way.
Bugs,
healthy
no,
vegan?
bugs are not vegan.
Me neither.
But that's what they want everybody eating, like cricket powder and stuff like that.
Grass.
Do we have any
No
other
FTX1F
questions
for
in here?
sale?
No, I
Not-
think
not
we've
able
hit
to buy.
everything I've queued up, buddy. Don trolled you with the Guanella Ballon, and you did answer because I thought you were going to say it's a Ballon made by Guanella. Next question.
Bill Orr's radio handbook is
True.
pretty good. I have it and I like it. You can definitely tell when you read like amateur radio manuals from like the 40s and 50s compared to today that the expectation is that you were much more educated back then than where folks are today. Like just the language is different. The constructs are different. You can definitely tell they're written for a different type of audience.
Well, it's that's a great comment, and you're right. But you also look at what people were like back in the 50s, for example. When you went on an airplane flight, you were dressed in a suit. Today, you're in an outfit that's probably not legal in 37 states.
Right. Well,
I mean,
and the
I've
other one
seen
is
some-
that
I've
you
seen
actually
some people
went to
in the
school to
airport
make your
that was
parents
like,
proud back
Is
then.
that your
and
jammies you're wearing, or
You gotta be comfortable, man.
dude? I mean, some of these people, like I said, not legal. Macy, don't look.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little over the top.
A
But,
little over the top, right? But they'll kick you off the flight if you have the wrong kind of T-shirt.
well, I think that there was just
Gotta
a
wear
different
shoes
focus
now too.
on education back then than there is now.
It
You
actually
have to
meant
have
something much more.
Closed share shoes now too.
So this is our buddy Anton, PC4AD, and he says, I have a picture of a Ballon on my QRZ page. Wonder what you think of that one. And Anton, I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back.
It's creative.
Yeah. Hey, Anton.
Death by
works.
faint praise.
Anton, put a lot of shrink wrap over that. People will think you've invented
They'll
something
never
magical, son. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey,
See if we
dude,
can
if
zoom
it
in
works,
on
who
that.
cares? Plus that up, son.
There's only so much plussing you can do there.
His solders are better than apes.
So he's
Well,
got
it looks like he's got
primary.
twisted. So he's got. I'm not sure what this is, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like it's a 3-to-1 the transformer that he's making there, but I'm not 100% certain.
Oh yeah, you're mathing on camera, and it's early in the morning.
Well, I can't really see the whole thing that good, but it looks like he's got 2 twisted pair, and then as a primary, and then the
It's the
secondary.
primary.
Two
So
twisted,
the-
four
so-
normal.
So 2 twisted and 4 normal. So that would be 6, right? So 6 divided by 2 is 3, right? And then I guess if you square that, then it would be 9. So I guess this is a 9-to-1. I don't know what he's trying to do there.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go, 9-to-1.
That's what Hollywood said.
the expert has spoken.
Tom has dropped some knowledge right there.
Yeah, wow. I agree with that. Thank you, Anton. Takes a
And it's really
man,
it's
brave
really a
man.
shame, right? I mean, the thing is that there are certain people in the society today that are super duper smart, smarter than people were back then. But as a whole, it's kind of like it's kind of like what do they call that? The salary gap. Like you have more and more people who are lower today and fewer that are higher. And the ones that are higher, super higher. It's the same way with education. I don't think that we're going to have a population of smart people to support our efforts moving forward. It's just a shame.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about that with like the automatic windshield wipers in the car. We're going to have a whole generation of people that don't know how to turn windshield wipers on.
Or
Yeah.
headlights, apparently, for a lot of them.
my wife's car, the windshield wipers come on automatically, and they don't check for when they get over. They put their blinker on, and it tells them not to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, take
So
your
we
take your
have this
kid.
thing now. Go ahead, Chuck. You first.
Well, I would say take your kid out, put him in a 1960s car, and ask him to start it. They won't know how.
I can't drive a Model T.
Choke
gotta
it. What the
step
hell
on
do you
that
mean
gas.
choke it? How
It's
do you
a
choke?
choke. What do you mean?
What?
choke?
Squeeze it tighter?
Where you got to
Well,
pump the gas a million times.
If you want to make yourself feel slightly devolved, let's go with devolved instead of stupid. Go pull up some video of a 50s or 60s quiz show, right? And listen to the questions they ask. The intro questions are like Final Double, Super Jeopardy, Tournament of Champions level stuff for the beginning questions. What's the square root of 123.7 when it's imbued in the tangential arc fitting of a light year divided by a gnat's booger? What?
In a vacuum.
In a vacuum. Right.
But
I mean, the
nowadays they're
questions,
like, what outfit did Grammy star, wear at the Super Bowl?
Right. How do you spell the color blue? Right. I mean, the questions are a lot
On a
different.
scale of 1 to 10, what's your favorite color of the alphabet?
Right. Pizza. Right.
So
I mean,
so
hell,
GM
my
cars
math
have
book
this thing
growing up
now.
had, word questions. You remember those?
Yep.
Yeah.
GM cars have this thing now where if you unlock the car with the remote, the reverse lights come on. And this is really bad in a parking lot because, number one, people pull in instead of back in. And number two, when I see reverse lights on a car lit up, I think the driver is in reverse. And there's not even a driver in the car at this point. It's just like, thank you for unlocking your car. Let me light the way to your vehicle. Meanwhile, the rest of the drivers are like, go on. And there's nobody there. Like that's the jump the shark thing that we're talking about, where we've lost the intelligence of the original driver and the current driver. They just don't even know what reverse lights are.
I like to do it in the parking lot when someone's flying through the parking lot and I catch them and they're coming real close to my truck. Then I'll do it so the backup lights come on and I can watch the Gen Xers slam on the brakes and freak out
Paying
because they thought
attention.
maybe.
So
remember how to
you
do
willingly attempt to cause an accident?
I willingly attempt to scare the living bejesus out of people who drive like assholes. That's my goal. I also can flip the tailgate open remotely too, which is a new level of scaring the crap out of them.
And empty all your soda bottles out of the...
That's right.
Yeah, comes flying out.
I'm a horn honker. Like if somebody does something I
I
don't
knew
like,
that. I could have told
man,
that.
I am
yeah.
like, "Mrrr," and I hold that thing in for like a minute. Like I want everybody in the general proximity to know that there's somebody honking the horn. My wife gets so mad at me about it. She's like, "Why do you do that?" And I'm like, "They need to know."
No, yeah. Look, there's an idiot over there.
Andy Cowley, where were you at? You were late, Andy Cowley. But how?
Maybe he slept in. I don't know. Who knows?
he might have.
Maybe he's been here and didn't say anything, maybe.
No, Andy always says hello to everybody.
I know he does, but you never know.
Andy's
Might be
awesome.
I'm going through there. I don't see anything. Eric, I guess you say that. He's saying Transmission Line Transformers by Jerry Sevick is a good source of info. Yeah, I've got the last published one that they put out, and I have a couple of his ebooks. Fantastic stuff. I wish the pictures, like the diagrams in there, was a little bit better because they sometimes are a little bit hard to see. And after all, I'm a visual learner. And then the other thing is that there is some drama around a couple of his Transformers in there where people are like, he was wrong about the 4-to-1. And people get all worked up about that too. But it's a fantastic resource. It's considered the Bible.
Bible.
Now, a lot of this would be in the Roth Hamill book too, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the Roth Hamill book. That Jerry Sevick book, though, is specifically on transmission line transformers.
Okay.
Roth Hamill's covers the Sevick book is like 180 pages, maybe 200 pages.
Roth Hamill's is
It's like 1,000 pages, right? Because
Yeah.
it's got everything in there. The most complete reference guide around amateur radio antennas would be that Roth Hamill's book. Yeah, and then I think I've done some videos on Bob Orr books, but Hollywood's correct.
he always is. He's
Yeah.
smarter than we are.
I think he probably is the one that told me to get the Orr book, and I've got a couple of different ones from him now.
No doubt.
And what's really great is that you can pick up, not the Sevick books, those are super high demand, but you can pick up a lot of the Orr books off of eBay for like $8 to $10. And it's a great way to get some nice reference material at an affordable price. And same thing with older ARRL antenna books. and the handbooks. Like you can get used ones for like $12, which is like
Look,
a great deal.
You walk the swaps at the Hamfest, you can find a treasure trove of books.
Yeah. The other thing I talk about, like the evolution of the books, like in the older handbooks, they'll say, hey, you're going to need an SWR meter for this, so here's how you build one. And then in the new books, it's like, hey, you can buy your SWR meter off of, hamparts.com or whatever the website du jour is.
A lot of those handbooks were written when Radio Shack was a thing and a place you would go, right? And not to get your cell phone, to get your cell phone turned on either, right?
Right,
Yeah,
or
to
batteries.
cell phone stores.
To buy parts.
Now, the one thing about Radio Shack that I didn't like, and everybody's going to be like, you hated Radio Shack.
What?
I didn't like how I had to go in and give my personal
yes.
information and all that other crap just to buy batteries. You know what I mean? I think that drove me a little bit crazy.
I didn't do it. I'd
Well,
say
like I was a kid, right? So I mean,
yeah.
like I'd go in there, I'm like 9 years old buying batteries from a Voltron, and there's some creepy, sweaty man, probably a ham radio operator, behind the counter. And he's like, son, what's your phone number, boy? And where you
what's
live
your
at?
What? No, he asked you what your mom's phone
Right.
number was. What's your mom's phone number?
Right. So I'm just like, man, that's crazy.
So this explains a lot. Ape, show us where the Radio Shack hurt you, buddy.
Yeah. I just don't, I didn't understand.
It was very annoying. And if you had to do a return at Radio Shack, oh my God. Oh my God.
It was designed so you wouldn't do the return.
It was designed to piss you off and delay them giving you your money back as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of miss them. I do miss them, but they had some annoying things there in their waning years.
Don always asks these crazy questions. Given a phased vertical, would antenna, would he choke? I'm going to say both of them. How about that?
Yeah. I would think so.
Well, because the
Choke
choke
at the
does work
box.
bidirectionally, right? And you don't want the non-radiating antenna to be impacted by RFI. On the other
Wouldn't
one,
you just choke at the beginning of the
I'd choke at both
phasing
antenna
array?
feed. I would choke at both antenna feed points.
We'd have
Hurt
to
says he
ask
still
John
has a
about that.
Radio Shack, but is it like one of those Radio Shack minis,
Yeah.
like where you can go in and get your T-Mobile contract renewed?
Do they sell capacitors and resistors there and audio adapters and filters and knobs or do they just update your phones? Get some more minutes on your boost. All right.
That Bill Orr book, the 23rd edition, $109.95.
Wow.
Pull it up real quick.
All right, hang on.
Go see if that's the one I got, because I know I didn't pay that much for it.
Yeah, Tom, I was wondering how that would affect it because of the phasing.
Yeah, you have to do it exactly the same. Yeah, that's not the one that I have.
They've got a I don't know, beige color cover is the 22nd edition, the one before this.
Yeah, mine was red.
Yeah. But, 23 editions, you got to change the color every single time. I mean, there's only 8 colors that my eyes can see.
Well, you have blue, you have kind of blue, you have very blue, super blue.
You got periwinkle over there.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to do it. Thanks, boys. I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I don't know if we had any of those chokes left. They're probably all gone.
Hopefully.
But I guess with that, I'm going to say enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I'm going to hit the button.
Enjoy.
Engage button. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.